Hi, welcome to What the Flick. We're going to talk about Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues. Perhaps you've heard that there is a sequel to Anchorman. Ben, Christy, Alonso, Matt, and being the former anchor yourself, you should probably describe this to us.
Also, Anchorman, one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. There's just no getting around it. One of the 10 funniest movies I've ever seen. I don't see it ever being moved off that list, but interestingly, it wasn't when I saw it. And then it was one of those movies that when on reviewing became, for me and many others, but what's odd is that other people seem to disagree, which I find crazy. So here's Anchorman 2, many years later. I think we're 9 years later for this sequel, something like that.
It's 1980. It's 1980 is the year.
1980 is the year, but it's 9 years later that we got the sequel in real time. It is set a few years later as we broach 1980, and the idea is that Ron and the news team are now in New York, basically working for what at first glance appears to be CNN, but then pretty clearly is Fox News. And basically, you don't need to know anymore.
We're starting a 24-hour news channel, and we want you.
I'm gonna do the thing that God put Ron Burgundy on this earth to do. Have salon-quality hair and read the news.
Your hair looks like wet popcorn.
I like the parts of your face that are covered with skin.
I don't read Jet Magazine or Jerry Curl Daily.
What are you doing?
I'm breaking down the barriers of race by assimilation. And on that note, which one of you convicts with the longest record can pass me the mashed potatoes?
And that little idea that he's now working at Fox, I think, is that's the best element in the movie.
Shocking amount of social commentary.
A lot of
the actual satire comes from there,
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised there. You don't expect that you're going into an Anchorman movie and expecting like some skewering of not just Fox, but just kind of the way the 24-hour news cycle has kind of dumbed down news.
And dumbed down us.
And dumbed down us. But I thought that kind of worked. I liked this movie. I thought it was really fun.
That's the movie's best idea.
Yeah.
The idea that every awful innovation in cable news is Ron Burgundy's idea, from the televised car chase to weathermen standing in the middle of hurricanes and like crazy knee-jerk patriotism or whatever. I thought that was a really clever idea, but then here's my thing with these movies, and I was not a huge fan of the first one either, so you may already be discounting everything I have to say about this. I feel like with these films that it's just joke, and they don't build to anything, even in terms of like setups and punchlines, or it's all one big sketch. I mean, like you look at a movie like Airplane, which is crazy gags and non sequiturs and absurd whatever. There is at least a plot that they are working on. Like they have a skeletal framework from which they can then go crazy and do whatever they want.
Would he rescue Christina Applegate from the bear den?
These movies never have any kind of framework, and it's like, and I never realized how much I miss framework in a comedy until I don't have one.
I think the first one has as much a framework as Airplane does.
But this has none. This is so slapdash. This is like, let's go get a perm.
I don't think it has as much a framework as much as I love it. I don't think it has an Airplane quality framework, but it's got. I'm with you. I don't feel like it's a series of sketches.
They introduced the idea that Brian Fantana has done an investigative news piece only to get them in trouble with the boss of the network. And I'm thinking, since when are they actually investigating news? Like, it doesn't work with these characters at all that suddenly they become reasonably competent at their jobs just so they can then learn a lesson about how the corporation whatever works. I don't know. I laughed a lot. I mean, what I'm going to give this movie is that sitting in the theater, I laughed consistently. But after about 45 minutes, I got kind of exhausted because it wasn't going anywhere.
It's even by the standards of this kind of film, it is way more slapped together and way more scattershot. And it's too long. I mean, goddamn, with these Judd Apatow comedies, and he produced it. Okay, so it's Adam McKay and Judd Apatow working together producing it. There's no sense of restraint. Like every line, every random bit of improv is so precious. They have to hold on to all of it, and it's 2 hours long.
They cut a ton.
There's
also,
like a 3.5 hour director's cut coming, I'm sure.
But the interesting thing is that you assume. I tend to, in this case, maybe agree with Christy because, like, at the end, Christy and I sat through all the credits. We saw it on opening day, and we sat through all the credits waiting for that.
The shawarma.
Shawarma, yeah.
And there's really nothing.
It's so lame.
I tend to lean toward, no, they put it all in. like whatever they had went in the movie.
Actually, it's funny because they didn't put it all in. Because what I'm hearing is that they shot this like they did the first one, enough for 2 movies, and we're going to release 2.
Oh my God.
And then
shoot me in the head now.
cut up what worked best out of each one and jammed it together. And so
Even more slapped together,
Well,
literally.
and I think I like this movie. I had a really good time. It does feel like it switches gears. You know, once they kind of get out, once Ron gets out of New York and goes to the lighthouse, like it becomes this whole other story, and it feels like like parts of 2 movies kind of stapled together. It's this weird it doesn't quite flow as well.
I think because of what Alonso said, though, because of the fact that there isn't much of a structure, when you break the limited structure and back it up to another movie, who cares, right? But I mean, I hear you. But
No, but I only bring that up because I found that second part of it wasn't as consistently funny.
I agree.
I found like it was a lot funnier early on, and then it kind of died down, and then kind of comes back at the end. But this movie for me is uneven. It's not as consistently funny as the first one, but boy, when it's on, I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, there's enough. I mean, you say you laugh consistently. I mean, it's a comedy.
I did, but the thing, and again, it's like I never thought about. This is really it's how sometimes when you see a bad movie and you realize, oh yeah, I never really thought about like continuity as being important until you see a movie where there's no continuity at all, and you start noticing that like the shirts keep changing color. I never noticed how much a structure in a comedy mattered until this movie, because I just was thinking, okay, I'm laughing and this is fun and these are funny ideas, but it's just all being thrown at me in this barrage. And in a 5-minute sketch, you can do that. In a 5-minute sketch, it's all about just making people laugh and whatever. But if you're going to make a 90-minute movie would have been great, but if you make a fucking 2-hour Judd Apatow movie, you've got to give me something to hold on to along the way.
It's totally fair.
It's like how, just one last thing. It's like how Family Guy is funny when you watch 30-second clips on YouTube. But an entire episode is unbearable.
No, but like Family Guy does like the non sequiturs and the flashbacks that go on too long. This does that over and over again, like beating the same joke to death.
Look, I don't know. I think you're crazy because because literally it's the
How much
sixth.
did I laugh
It's the
sitting
sixth.
next to you?
The anchor a lot.
Here and there.
A lot. 12 times. What do you want?
And then it stopped. Like Matt says, it just stops getting funny at some point.
I was going to bring up I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here, but when you're talking about but when you're talking about the structure, like this from the guy who loved the Three Stooges movie.
Ooh, and movie 43.
Okay, well,
Ooh, that was you too.
No. I can respond to both of those. Three Stooges has a plot. Three Stooges has a through line and is divided into 3 vignettes, and each of those vignettes has like a beginning, middle, and end.
The framing devices for each sketch.
Yes, that's what it is. And movie 43 is literally a series of sketches, which is what it's supposed to be.
I had to pull
No,
that
I know.
Always
2013 cannot go out without that coming up. But no, this is a long sketch, and as you know from watching Saturday Night Live, sometimes when sketches get too long, you're just like, okay, well this was funny, but wrap it up.
Yeah, look, I think there's probably, I don't know exactly where, but there's probably 20 minutes that could have come out of this and kept the pacing
40.
better. Mm-hmm. And then I think people would probably like it more. A couple people walked out.
Yes,
in our screening. There weren't that many people there. It was like a morning screening. It was literally the first screening of the day.
It was like,
right, exactly. But look, this is, as I said, it's the 6th funniest movie ever made, the first one ever in the history of movies, maybe higher. And this is those characters doing what they do pretty well. It's not as good as the first one, but it's funny. And there's a lot, and there's some good, solid, biting social news commentary.
The cast is great. James Marsden is really funny in this.
Right.
Kristen Wiig is hilarious.
Kristen Wiig does not get enough.
Oh, I thought she was really funny.
Both of those guys, and all those scenes made me so depressed with Kristen Wiig and Steve Carell. What a waste of those guys.
I didn't love those scenes. I didn't love that as much as I thought I would. I agree with you on James Marsden, and there's in the first one there's a giant, as a sort of metaphor for the ratings fight. There's a great rumble in the first one.
Way too inflated in this movie, I thought.
Yeah,
but I thought funny. Funny mistake.
Okay, this super subjective stuff here.
No, it's fact. 7.2.
4.3 because I hate fun.
I give it a 5.9 for the actual laughs, but it's, I will enjoy watching snippets of this movie in years to come, but I will never sit through the whole thing again.
I'm almost as correct as you, 7.
Oh God, you're so close to being right. Yeah, you're right there. That's a too low 6.1 for Anchorman. What's it at, Matt?
It's in the
78.
On the tomato.
78 on the tomato.